All right, welcome back to the fourth episode, if I'm not mistaken, of this coding along for the interactive story path application. My name is Mike Dereke, and I teach at Erasmus Hogeschool Brussels. I don't think I've mentioned that in the previous ones, but hey, this is all just click and play, and if I make a mistake, well, I try to fix it on camera as well. So next up is going to be the useEffect. We're going to be changing some code here to simulate as if we were getting data from a different place. How do we do that? Well, we are going to get the path data, not from a local JSON file, but let's say it's somewhere on an online API, and we need to use a fetch command for that. Well, where do we place that fetch command? Well, we use the useEffect hook for that. So let's get started. And first of all, break our setup. We're gonna go into the info page. We're gonna remove this. And we are, as you can see, data is not defined. We're going to let our state be default and cannot read anything because everything is undefined. Perfect. Everything is broken. Let's fix it with the effect. So to use a hook, we are going to be importing it. useEffect. And the hooks, again, what are the rules? Again, it's located in the top of the application. So here we're going to be using useEffect. It's already suggesting it. So how are we going to stop suggesting the solution? How are we going to use a useEffect? Well, we are going to be calling the method, and it is going to hold an anonymous function. This is the function that's going to be executed. And this is the dependency array. More on that later. For now, all you need to know is that this function will only be used, only be called once the moment your application is rendered. So let's start there. Now we're going to use a fetch request. Now Jesus. Can I turn it off or deactivate? Can I deactivate for now? Disable. Okay, let's disable it for now, and if I get stuck, I can get the AI to help me a hand again. So before we do that, now we need some place to get our data. Now we have our data, so we want to keep using it. Now we're gonna make a mock API, just having a regular old function. So in data, you're gonna create a new file. It's called data service.js, just regular old JavaScript. Now the data service is an in-between layer. So let's say that you have multiple API calls, multiple logic that you need to do to verify the data that's coming in, verify the data that's going out, doing something with headers, doing the course, etc., etc. I recommend you do that in what we call in the business a service. A service is a separate piece of JavaScript that handles all that complexity for you without muddying up your components. Your component needs to be as pure as possible. If you need data, just one fetch call to the data, and it needs to be delivered to you in the perfect form you need for that component. So if there is some transformation needed, just do that in a different place. For example, the service. For now, we are going to create a new function. Export default async get function. This was a lot easier with my AI, but hey, let's see if I can struggle through this. Get data. Again, this is your basic run-of-the-mill fetch. So const response is again fetch. And what are we going to be fetching? Let me check. I think it's going to be data and path data.json. That's our regular response. And of course, we need to change that and convert that to JSON. Await, of course, await. Await. Let's go. Okay. And we're going to return the data. I can also do return await, basically. You guys know how this works, right? Perfect. This is your regular fetch call. So, as you can see here, we have a function that gets the data and returns it. Now, this could be any API, but we're going to be calling from our info page, we're going to be using a fetch call because it's an asynchronous function and we will get a promise back. We will use a fetch call in here and updating the state if we get that. So fetch, now I'm going to enable again. Fetch, what am I calling fetch? No, I don't need I don't need fetch. I need to call that function. Jesus. So this is a get data function. I'm going to call it. The get data is from the from this file. So here I'm going to do get data from the data service. Then voila. This function is called. It's asynchronous, so if you want to put a delay in there so that it takes a bit longer to simulate it, perfect. You get you can get a loader image in between. The data that we are getting back, we do not want the first element. We want the full element because it's going to be the info. And it seems that we are not getting it at the moment. So let me check. Maybe this is the path. Let's see if we get something back from data. Console log, data. Refresh. Let me check. Cannot be properties of undefined. Yep. That's all good and well. The above error has occurred. So there is something wrong with our useEffect. Let's see how we can fix it. All right, to fix our mistake here, everything is working. One thing I needed to change was to move the path data from data to the public folder, because if we're going to simulate our public, you only have access to the public folder here. So just make sure you have / and then public. Just put the path data that we used, put it in the public folder, then make sure you have this path, and then it should work. Now, I'm still getting the error. Well, I'm going to show you what happens if I do not render anything. Look at the comment section. As you can see, everything is loaded in. Perfect. And then if I uncomment this, which is weird, of course, the state is remembered, then it renders. But if I refresh, it's gone. So here, what is happening is that it's trying to render something that doesn't work, that crashes, that doesn't have default values, stuff like that. But afterwards, the data is loaded in. So it basically crashes before the data is there. How do we solve that? Well, we use a very simple if statement. If the data is not there, or let's say const is loading. That's a common use case. So at the moment it is loading. So we're only going to be rendering this if is loading is not true. So how do we do that? Well, we can do et voila. And instead of this div, we're going to be boom. Let me just close everything out to remove all the red things in here. We are oh, okay. Okay. Still, if loading is not true. Okay, so now it stays white, which is correct because we are not adjusting the loading animation. So if else we can show you is loading. So this means that it is loading, but we need to change the variable back the moment we have our info. So the moment the info is set, we can do set loading to false. And now we're done. So if you want to create a timer in here to, let's say, 3 seconds, then in the beginning you will see the loading, and then you will see everything loaded correctly in. Now, this is how the useEffect works and is used most of the time. It's to communicate with external sources. Now, what is this dependency array? Well, let's say that you have loaded in your data. In this case, it's fine. We're not touching it anymore. We have our data and we're good to go. But let's say you want to reload the page. Let's say that the moment we have this info, we're going to be updating it with the answers later on. So we're going to be adjusting this. Let's say we want to reset the page. We want to reset the page from the beginning instead of using our reload button. Then we want to be able to call this useEffect again. Well, the dependency array can store variables or state variables, for example, that if that variable changes, then we do the useEffect again. So let's say we have a reset with set reset, and if it's a boolean false, if the boolean is turned to true and the reset variable is set in here, that means this is getting executed again completely. All right, that's the dependency array. You see lots of examples for useEffect and a dependency array for timeouts, for example, or timers or counts. You see that in the documentation. Now, let's complete our application by saving our data, saving the answer, and actually showing the feedback screen. So again, I'm going to create a new component, new file. Exercise feedback.jsx, and we are receiving we are going to get the answer. We're going to see the feedback A. I think it was called, let me check the data that we have. So as you can see, feedback A and feedback B, this can be better structured, but again, I'm working with this for now. Feedback A and feedback B. Feedback B. Good enough. We're gonna show it here. That's for later. But now on our exercise page, or exercise component for to be more clear, when we submit an answer, we have set it here. And then we need to do something. For example, exercise complete is a good option. And then when the exercise is complete, we can render the exercise complete instead of this one. Okay, let's try that. So let's make a new state. Const ex complete. And of course, the rest is history. In the beginning, it is false, and we're going to be setting it to true here. So set exercise complete true. Perfect. Now, the moment it gets to true, this all needs to change with a different variable. Now, again, can we divide this up and make smaller components? For sure. So I suggest after this session, you try to make smaller components with this. For now, we're just going to be finalizing it with a new component. So if it's complete, then if it's not complete, then we will, you know what? I'm going to place it in here. So we have our div. Not complete, we show this. If it is complete, we show the new exercise feedback. What is it complaining about? Ah, okay. Yeah. Just gonna place it up top in here. Because we need one parent element. And then of course, a fragment up top. This is not the most clean way, but again, for now, it works as it should. So the moment this is done. If I do it on complete, let's say done, send answer, and it's gone. Now we have the exercise feedback component. Perfect. So what do we need to pass along here? We asked for the answer, the feedback A and feedback B. So answer, feedback A, feedback B. And now we can build that up. So give me a second and I will make here some basic HTML and react-bootstrap to show you the feedback of the exercise. Feel free to pause the video here and try to build the component as you think we will need for finalizing the application. All right, we have finalized our feedback component. Hope you did a good job and found some fun while building it. So I have a row with your answer, choosing the choice, the answer, I present the username and the email just because I have it. And then the feedback, I can also include the YouTube videos, but then I have to pass along the IDs, etc. But for now, a very if statement to see if the Boolean that we get, the Boolean here, which is it's correct, it's true, correct is false. Again, make it flexible, your data. And then the explanation. So, and then a reset exercise is the last thing we're going to do. We're going to be passing along events all up the chain. So to test it out, let's see what it does. Mike@email.com. Mike de Rijke. That's our details. I do think A is the best option. Best option because I made this demo. If I click on send answer, you immediately see your answer is A, because the best option is noted by Mike de Rijke with this email. Apparently one parenthesis too many, but okay, beauty mistakes. And then the feedback, choice A is correct and choice B is incorrect, because this clip follows the instruction and this is the second clip in the series. Perfect. Now we're done. Except for one last thing. We're going to do the reset exercise. Now, what we have not done with events is pass things along. For now, we have handled events inside one component, but what if this component, which is a feedback component, inside an exercise component, inside the info page component, what if it needs to reach all the way up to the info page to reset your whole application? Remember that dependency array for that useEffect? Now we're going to trigger it. So let's start top down or bottom up. Let's go bottom up. No, let's. This is of two minds. Depends on what is most logical for you. Let's say we need to change the reset exercise. Where do we reset it? We reset it here, because the whole thing needs to re-render and we need to get the info again. So here we are going to add a reset variable. We are going to create it as a state. So in the beginning it's going to be false. Once it's true, at the end we can set reset to false again. Okay, now when we have events. Let's create a function handler. Function handle reset. And we're going to set the reset to true. So this function needs to be called the moment that button is clicked. But the button, we need to pass along this function so we can bind it to the on-click event of that button. So where is that? Well, it is in exercise. The reset. Let's call this the reset. Reset is not a variable we need. We need to handle reset. Handle reset. So that function is going to be called, I'm going to call it click reset so that we know it's a function. So click reset is going to be handled by this function. We go into the exercise. Here we need to import it. So again, click reset. Click reset is going to be called on the feedback one. So we're going to pass it along. click reset is click reset. Again, just passing it deeper into the chain. Here, we're going to be importing it again. Click reset. And we're going to handle that here on that button. So here on click, we're going to be click reset. Whoops. Done. So now the moment we click on that button, it's going to call this function, goes back up to exercise, goes back up here to the props, it goes back up to the info page where we bound this function to it. It's going to trigger the reset boolean to true. It's going to trigger this dependency, which will re-trigger the useEffect and reload our page. All right, let's see what happens. So again, a refresh would do us no harm. Mail at mail, Mike B data, send answer, perfect. Reset exercise, and we don't get anything. Is there a error? So there is something happening because the function is not called. Let's see what is causing this. Okay, so to conclude, things were working, but we just needed to add something extra to it. So walk with me through this exercise. Now, what I've done before, again, this might be handy for you as well. So go to pathdata.json. I just copy pasted this entire scenario to the second one. Just copy paste a second exercise in there, and I just changed the title. Why? Because my trigger effect was triggering, but it only changed for the top level page. It did not update my exercise, so I was stuck on the feedback screen. The feedback screen wasn't doing anything. The feedback screen needs to be removed and it needs to be reset. So I've built in a trigger to re-render my scenario or my exercise screen in here. So once you have this data, you can go to your info page. Let's go from top down this time. So I've added a reset state again, which the effect is based on. The moment you click on the reset, then the effect will get triggered. The info data will be loaded in again with the get data. And we're going to set the loading as false, and we're going to set the reset back to false because we're not resetting anymore. What I did in the handle reset is I added a current exercise to it. So this means that we can continue to move to the next exercise. You can use different variables, but the point here is that the moment we have exercise here, everything here was changing, but the exercise still had the same data running through it. So this component does not have a reason to re-render. Now it does because there is a new exercise. So what I added in the exercise component is a small useEffect. That means that if the exercise changes, set the exercise complete to false again, because we need to see the first screen, because this value does not reset unless we do it or on render. We need to manually do it. So this value gets set to false the moment a new exercise is loaded in. And that means that my feedback screen will be removed and I can continue with the second scenario. So let's see how it works. Refresh. We have our first scenario. Email at email. Mike B. Some text, send answer. Again, answer is done. We have everything we need here. We can reset the exercise, and now we can see it's scenario 2. It's because it goes all the way back up, loads in the data back again, and then goes to the second scenario. So I hope you've learned something from this exercise, and then I'll see you in the next Coding Along for Frontend.